morning, afternoon, or evening. Welcome to I'm Talking Waffles. I'm your host, Ileana. So, I'm not really a fan of the snow, but all of November, we got maybe like a minute of snow, and then it like all melted. So it just feels really strange to me that there's no snow. As much as I don't like the snow, it's weird not having it. And the Weather Network, I like to check it because I look forward to the first snowfall. I don't know why. I just think it's super cool when you open up the windows and then suddenly everything is just being covered in a blanket of snow. It's just super cool to me and I love it. But everything about winter and snow I hate afterward. The only thing I like is the first snowfall and making sure there's snow on Christmas. But other than that, I do not like the snow at all. It's just way too intense in Canada. So in terms of my NaNoWriMo writing, I am completely on track to finish the 50,000 words by November 30th. So this episode is coming out the day before. So I'll have to let you know next episode if I actually completed it because I'm only a couple thousand words off currently from when I'm recording. So I'm really pumped about it. I just love this whole event and how it encourages me to write. And I'm going to continue to write too because I built up this really good routine where after work, I just start to write. I just write for about an hour and a half and then I continue on with whatever else I want to do. Be it reading a book or watching a movie or playing the Switch. Speaking of the Switch, actually, I just started playing Pokemon Sword, which I love it. I haven't played any of the newer Pokemon games ever. I think the last Pokemon game I ever played was Heart Gold or Soul Silver. So being able to play it and knowing that I can change how my character looks is amazing because I always hated playing as the generic Pokemon character. And I'm I don't look like that. I want my character to look like me. So the first thing I did in the game is found some new clothes and then I'm going to be changing my character's hair up. And I really like that you can just see the Pokemon walking around. You're okay, I'm going to crash into this one because I know I want to catch this one. And it's just super cool. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So I love it. Pokemon, fun fact. Pokemon was the first video game that I ever beat in my lifetime. The second was Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. That was the other game that I beat. And I think that's about it. Oh, I also beat that Mario game with my family. I can't remember. I know it was for the Wii, but I don't know the name of it. I just know it was Super Mario. And it was a lot of fun. So I don't really beat a lot of games ever. I play a bunch of random games, but I don't beat games typically. So Pokemon is an exception. I think I've beat all the Pokemon games that I've played, and I love it. And some of the new Pokemon are so ugly. I just gotta say that. I think the majority of the starters are hideous. That Diggersby or whatever is the ugliest Pokemon I've ever seen in my whole entire life. And if you think he's cute, then I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Diggersby is the most hideous thing I've ever seen in my life, and he makes me feel sick every time I see him. So that's just a bit of a side rant, talking about how much I hate Diggersby. He's just so gross. Ugh, makes me sick. But yeah, so that's pretty much what's been going on. Oh, my boyfriend is back in the office actually, so that's a little bit weird getting used to. He went back on Tuesday, and so this whole week it's just been me chilling. And there's some positives, I don't have to wear headphones, which is great. But to me, there are a lot of downsides, we don't get to have lunch together. We don't get to chit chat or stand on the balcony and look outside on our breaks or be in each other's company. And it's so quiet now that he's back in the office because he has this really loud keyboard that I always was this is a loud keyboard. But for some reason, I miss hearing the click clack of that loud keyboard. So it's very strangely quiet and pretty lonely in my beautiful apartment. So I just play random background music to kind of fill the void of silence. So that is pretty much what's been going on in the land of Ileana. And so now we're going to be jumping over to the main conversational topic of today, which is the winter blues. So let's jump right into that. So the winter blues. You may be feeling it already, maybe you don't feel it, or maybe you're just beginning to get into that winter blues. It really depends, everybody's different. But let's talk about what the winter blues is. Typically, due to the colder weather and the shorter days, a lot of people start to feel the winter blues around this time of the year. A lot of the people, they experience fatigue, sadness, difficulty concentrating, and disrupted sleep during this winter season. And interestingly enough, the winter blues is not the same as seasonal affective disorder. These are two different things. So basically, mood changes in the winter blues are just like temporary and they're easily like manageable as long as you make some modifications, which we're going to talk about. But some people, they have seasonal affective disorder, which is like a step above the winter blues. So what I want to do is I want to talk about the differences between the winter blues and seasonal affective disorder, which ironically enough is an acronym for SAD, which I think is pretty funny. And we're going to talk about some like cool things you can do to beat the winter blues. Now, I am by no means a doctor or anything in that field, but as somebody who does feel like a little bit of the winter blues, I'm like, you know what, let's compile a list and help out all the other winter blues friends, because being Canadian, we all deal with this. So some of the key differences of the winter blues and SAD is that the winter blues typically has a lot of sadness just during the fall and winter months. People have trouble sleeping and they don't really have as much motivation. Whereas people with seasonal affective disorder have severe sadness during the fall and winter. They have very bad sleep and eating issues, and it really limits a lot of their normal function and motivation. So you can kind of see the similarities in it, but the other one is like a step above of what the other one is. And I mean, it's particularly popular during this winter time, because even if you don't commute, but like you wait, like when I wake up 6 p.m., it's dark outside. And then I continue to work, and sometimes my windows are down because there's like a really bad glare from where the sun is. So it's like super dark. And then by the time work is done, it's dark outside as well. So when people are like commuting, there's just darkness, darkness, darkness all the time. And even people working from home like myself, darkness, darkness, darkness all the time. You don't really have time to go outside anymore because like it's dark and it's really depressing. So these are some of the just like definitions and key characteristics of the winter blues and seasonal affective disorder. So let's talk about a couple of tips on what you can do to help beat the winter blues. So I mean, as you're aware, we as humans are not able to change the weather or change the amount of daylight unless they remove daylight savings time altogether. It's still going to be dark. So here is some stuff that you can do as a person that will kind of help alleviate some of the like bluesiness of the winter blues. One of the ones that I think is the most important is keeping up with like your sleep routine. Obviously, sleep is incredibly important. And so here are like some steps. Make sure that you go to bed and you wake up the same time every single day. From experience, this is a huge mood booster. When I used to work like shift work at grocery stores, I would have completely random times every single day, like when I was working. It could be working in the morning or working in like the evening. So my sleep would get super messed up. So as long as you wake up, so I wake up at 6 a.m. every single day. That can include weekends too. It should include weekends because you really need to like kind of build up that routine with you. And another important one is following a bedtime routine. So a lot of people, they tend to be on their phones or their iPads or they watch TV before bed. But like the blue light of those really messes up like your ability to sleep. So I, as you know, like I went to a sleep study and the sleep doctor recommends this. So I'm not just like speaking out of thin air here, but you should take some like time, typically an hour, maybe 2 hours, whatever you prefer, but an hour at least to be away from any light. So you could read a book, you could sit and like drink a tea, you could take a bath, like turn the lights out, and then your body is just going to be ready to go to bed because you're staying away from all like the light distractions that are going to mess up your sleep. And speaking of light, when you wake up, the first thing you should be doing is exposing yourself to it. That means turning on all your lights or opening your blinds if you wake up when it's bright outside, because you kind of need to feel the lightness and be like, yes, like it is time to awake. Another one, which my sleep doctor also told me about, is to sleep in a cool, dark room. So I find that what works best is if you have an air conditioner, just like turn it down. I do like 19 degrees. If you don't have an air conditioner, have a fan. Put a fan right in front of where you sleep and cover yourself up, nice, bundled up in blankets, lots of pillows, lots of soft toy friends, like, you know, anything. Squishmallows, highly recommended. And make sure all of your blinds are closed. I did a little test monitoring my sleep to see, like, am I able to sleep better with the curtains down or with the curtains open? Obviously, the curtains down, one, because it's really dark and good. Another one, which I found this online from a psychologist named Kelly Donahue, and she says that before you go to bed and if you wake up in the middle of the night, you can tell your mind you don't need to worry because all the thoughts are captured on a piece of paper and you can tackle them in the morning. So basically, that quote meaning just write everything you're worried about on a piece of paper, put it on your desk or whatever, go to bed. You'll be able to worry about and tackle all of that stuff in the morning. I'm not sure how effective this is because I've never done it, but this person's a PhD, so they definitely have some credibility in that sense. Another one, which is incredibly important, especially in the winter, is doing some physical activity. Now, not everybody really wants to go outside when it's cold. I know that I don't, but if you do like going outside and you don't mind the cold, definitely go for a little jog. Physical activity obviously has been shown to boost your mood and decrease any sadness, and it of course reduces stress. So if you start to build up kind of a fitness routine, even if it's 10 minutes a day of doing yoga or a run or anything, even just a couple little squats, anything that you can do just to get outside, get some exercise in, it's really going to impact your mood and it's going to make you feel a lot better. Now, as I said, I don't go outside when it's really cold, but I walk to the gym. So kind of touching on this, if you really feel like your winter blues is coming from not being out in the sunlight, not really being able to experience the day, because obviously by the time work is done for most people, it's already dark outside. So what I recommend is just take your break when it is sunny outside and just go for a little walk. It just boosts your mood so much because you're outside, the world is happening. You can just walk, get a cup of coffee, go back to your work or your home, wherever you work, and it is honestly game changing. So if that seems too intimidating, there's something called the 10-10-10 plan or 10x, I'm not really sure. But basically, in the wintertime, especially with winter blues or seasonal affective disorder, a lot of people can feel really, really unmotivated. And even without that, a lot of people are unmotivated to work out and stuff. So instead of committing to one ridiculously long workout, you can break it up into chunks. So this is an example. If you want to do a walk 30 minutes a day, maybe in your lunch or something, you can divide it into mini workouts of 10 minutes each day. So you just take one walk in the morning, maybe before work or something, one in the early afternoon, on your lunch, and one right before it gets dark. So that could just be your last break of the day, or if your work is done at 3 or 4, it's still bright out there. It gets dark at 4:30 now. So as long as you know the times, and if you don't keep track of the sun rising and sunset like I do, because I'm obsessed with doing that, your weather network is going to show you when the sun rises and sunsets, so you can plan your workout walking around time around that, because you'll know the times that the sun is going to be up and down. And of course, you always, any chance you can get, seek out the sun. Obviously, this has to be a really big priority because a lot of these winter blues, sad symptoms, they really get worse the less you spend in the sun. So basically, why this makes sense, I'm going to tell you. Well, science is going to tell you. According to science, it says, being in the sunlight helps balance serotonin activity, increases melatonin production, balances your circadian rhythm, which is very important, and increases vitamin D levels, which can lead to an improved emotional state. And so even if you can't get outdoors, maybe, I don't know, you're at a grocery store or you work in an office or something, try your best to be near a window with sunlight. At least 1 to 2 hours a day is what science recommends. And again, if it's not possible, you can break it out into those different chunks throughout the day, like you could do with your workout. Now, this one is actually one that my friend was telling me about, and she said that she started to notice a difference, and this is light therapy. So basically, you get this light box. You can order it off of Amazon. And the first thing you do in the morning is you set it up, you turn it on, and it's really bright, and you're kind of like a moth. And you're supposed to sit in front of it for 20 minutes to an hour. And you should basically do it every single day from fall until springtime. And my friend said, she's oh, it feels really weird. I feel like a moth, but I've started to notice a difference. I've never done light therapy or anything like that, but I do know people that have done it. And they've said that it works. You just kind of have to continue at it before you start to notice like changes. Like with anything, like again, I'm going to use working out as an example. You're not instantly going to get like a 6-pack by doing one run or one crunch. You're going to have to continue working at it until you're like nice and beefy. Same thing with light therapy. You got to be a moth for 20 to 60 minutes a day. And then eventually you're going to feel better. Another one that I recommend is vitamin D. Now, I take vitamin D every single morning, and it's usually cherry flavored, but they ran out of the cherry ones, and so now I use the orange ones, and they really don't taste good. So, like, they taste good, but the thing is that I brush my teeth after I eat my vitamin D. So, yeah, orange and toothpaste does not mix. But basically, you can get like a bunch of yummy vitamin D pills, and they taste super great. And they obviously, as I mentioned before, vitamin D is given to you by the sun. And if you can't get in the sun, or you can't get in the sun too often, you just use the vitamin D daily. I think mine is like 1,000 something. It's like 1,000 something CUIs. I have no idea. Something like that. And it was recommended to me by a doctor because I'm like, I'm tired. And they're like, take vitamin D because your blood shows that you're low. And I'm like, okay. And honestly, vitamin D is a game changer. I can say this one 100% confidently because there have been a time where I've run out of it and I'm like too lazy to just go buy more because I don't know. I'm just lazy pretty much. And I can feel it. Like it's harder to wake up when I have low vitamin D. I feel more motivated and like ready to like kick butt every single morning when I'm consistent in taking the vitamin D. And also what you can do is like, if you don't like the idea of like having vitamin D like vitamins, what you could do is find food that contains vitamin D and like continue to have it like for breakfast, lunch, dinner, any kinds of snacks. So vitamin D can be found in like fatty fish or like fish oil, fortified foods like milk, orange juice, breakfast cereal, yogurt, like a bunch of stuff. Like you should Google it because again, I'm not like a doctor, I'm not a dietitian, I'm nothing like that. I'm just a girl with the winter blues. And interestingly enough, so there's this meta-analysis that I read because that's what I do when I want to research stuff about myself. And it talked about vitamin D, which is how I found it. And basically it talked about, which I think is kind of a cool fun fact, but it's not the fun fact of the day. And basically these researchers in this meta-analysis, they found that people with depression have low vitamin D levels, and people with low vitamin D are at a greater risk of depression. So, like I said, the seasonal affective disorder is different than the winter blues. And so if you think you have like low vitamin D, you should talk to a doctor and see what to do. But easy way, boost your mood with food. And honestly, making a nice hot cup of hot chocolate on like a wintry, cold, snowy, yucky day is amazing. And another one I want to add is really just enjoying time. I really hate how dark it gets, and I found ways to combat that. Basically, what I like to do is watch movies, binge watch TV shows, because it feels like you're like a time traveler in a way. Like, this is the way I see it. Because it gets dark so early, 4 o'clock feels like 9 p.m. to me. And so it feels like I'm staying up super, super late, like binge watching a show, but I'm still going to bed at the exact same time every single day, which is 9. And so I think trying to just like build something in your routine that's going to make you excited, because I know after work, I'm going to be writing for the next hour and a half. And then I'm like, yeah, like this is great. And then after that, it's going to be dark. So I'm either going to do like some chores and stuff, or it's time to binge watch a TV show. And the TV show I've been binge watching right now is called Emily in Paris. And it's like a Netflix original show. And it's a little extreme in ways. And it's definitely not meant to be taken seriously in any way. And that's the perfect kind of show to watch during like the winter blues. Because you don't want to have to think. You want to just laugh and have fun, enjoy a cheesy little TV show or whatever. I call it mindless TV because you don't need to think about it. And so the more mindless shows that you can watch that you are enjoying, and you're not, like, it's not the only thing you're doing. I'm not saying the only thing you should do is watch mindless TV. I'm saying it's kind of like a treat to yourself to boost your own mood, because you're going to be doing the other stuff too. You're going to be exercising, you're going to be eating good food, you're going to be taking vitamin D or having food that has vitamin D in it, all of that good stuff. And you're also going to find entertainment. If you like to draw or color or write or organize, play video games, this is the perfect time to take advantage of it, because it feels like you're staying up super late, but you're not. And I really hope that what I'm explaining makes sense, because that's how I snap myself into the, yeah, like this is great. Like it feels like I have extra time, even though it's the same amount of time that I've always had, but it feels like I have more. And that's what it is. You gotta trick yourself. Do a face mask, yeah. Just treat every day like a bones day, and you'll be scot-free. It's gonna be great. So yeah, I hope that episode made sense, because I was just thinking about like I woke up this morning, I'm like, oh, it's raining, it's dark, it's gloomy, I didn't sleep well, I feel like garbage. And I was like, no, we're gonna do all this good stuff. And I'm like, yeah. So stood on my balcony and felt some of that sweet city air down my throat, because it was like raining, so obviously there's no sun. I took my vitamin D. I'm like, yeah. Then I had a great day at work, and now I'm recording my podcast, and I record in my bathroom, so I don't have to see the gross darkness of outside. Another thing, invest in a ton of lights. I have so many lights in my apartment, because these like newer apartments have no light at all, because they're made to, I don't know, just have lights come out of the windows or something. Like summertime, completely fine. But in the wintertime, it is so dark in here. So I just have I have hiccups. I just have a ton of different lights, and I can have fun with my lights too. I turn them purple all the time because I like purple lights. I felt like I rambled a lot in this episode, but I just really wanted to get the point across that there are a lot of cool things that you can do to take advantage of the winter blues and just have fun. So with that, it is now time for everybody's favorite part of the show. That's right, it's the fun fact of the day. So today's fun fact is, dun-da-da! Some insects survive the winter by producing their own version of antifreeze. Scientists call these produced chemicals, I'm not going to say this right, cryoprotectants, which make the insects less likely to freeze in cold weather. There are several types of cryoprotectants, but the most common in the insect world is glycerol. And speaking of snow, which we do not have currently where I live, snowflakes have 6 sides. This is due to the ice having a natural hexagonal crystalline... Why are these words so hard to say? Hexagonal crystalline structure? These are hard to say. But if you look really carefully, you might be able to find a 12-sided snowflake or a 3-sided one. And that's because these ones have formed under different situations that allow for this unusual formation. And of course, there's no, like, all snowflakes are different. So yeah, it's kind of like 4-leaf clovers, like try to find the one of the different sides. And finally, the last thing I wanted to do for a fun fact is that there's actually 5 different kinds of snow. And the way that these different types of snow are characterized is by the amount of water in their consistency. And so obviously this ranges from like dry snow all the way to slush. And there's like the really good packing snow for like snowman and snowballs and stuff. I never really thought about slush for some reason as snow. I just thought of like 2 kinds of snow, like the fluffy useless stuff and then the snowman snow. But apparently there's 5. You learn something new every day. So with that, I'm going to wish you a great rest of your morning, great rest of your evening, great rest of your night, great rest of your apocalypse, and great rest of your winter blues. We got until April, so let's continue doing our best to not become hibernated under blanket creatures. Bears have it right. Hibernating through the winter, they don't have to deal with just the winter blues. Okay, bye!